Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Again, I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas as well as a happy Hanukkah. And of course, we're looking forward to a fantastic new year in 2023. And of course, we'll continue to bring you the latest on what's happening in local sports right here on Inside New Orleans Sports each and every week. Today, a little bit different program than we normally have. We're going to look back at some of the things that have happened this year in terms of facilities and what's the future of, again, some sports here in New Orleans. And joining me on the program, my dear friend and one of the most honorable men I've ever met in my life, just retired from the Jewish Federation, as head of the Jewish Federation. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing for the rest of his life now, but he'll figure something out. Former city council member, former vice president of New Orleans Saints, Arnie Fielkow, is our guest on the program today. Arnie, welcome. Again, happy Hanukkah to you. I know Hanukkah's just ended, and of course, looking forward to a fantastic new year.
Thank you, Eric. It's a real pleasure to be on the show. Happy New Year to you and Jan and your family, and to everybody watching.
Yeah, same to you. I want to get started with something that, again, one thing that you've done throughout your life, getting involved in philanthropic ventures, constantly, again, giving back to our community, something, again, not just you do, but in your entire family, Sue, your sons, everybody seems to be part of the Fielkow legacy here in New Orleans. And one of the things that you got involved in when you got back from the NBA Players Association was, again, raising some funding for a Ninth Ward stadium that was supposed to be built after Katrina, something you were involved in a little bit after Katrina as a council member, but again, really have kind of taken on this project. This is a huge project, not just for the Ninth Ward, but also for high school sports here in New Orleans, where we have a need for more facilities, more modern facilities for, again, the athletes and again, the student athletes and of course, the kids across the metropolitan area to be able to utilize. And first of all, tell us a little bit about the Ninth Ward Stadium, what it was supposed to do, what happened with the Lee Zurich investigation, and then why you got back involved to be able to get involved in this. Because I would tell you, when you first told me you were getting involved in it, I'm like, Arnie, stay away, okay? But no, you didn't take my advice. You've moved head first into it, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition.
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, you're right about the fact that just in New Orleans, we just don't have venues, for kids to play high school sports, middle school sports. I say this during my, many times when I travel, I'll go and see other cities of comparable size, and every high school has a beautiful field and a basketball facility connected. We just don't, part because we don't have the land that other cities do.
True.
So this project actually started after Katrina, as you said. A guy named Brian Bordanik, who had come to town, and he had this dream of called Field of Dreams, and he wanted to build a first-class facility in the Upper Ninth Ward. He became the athletic director at Carver High School, and he raised some money for it. Unfortunately had to leave town, and the project got carried by another group, and it just didn't happen. It didn't work. I actually got involved on the council because I was a donor. The group had come to me and said, here's a terrific project, would you financially support it? I said yes, and lo and behold, I thought the project was happening.
Yes.
I woke up a decade later, and there was some reports that the project had never got off the ground, and I reached out to a few people that I knew in the community that I had done work with in the area of recreation. I said, look, this is too good of a project to let die. Let's bring it alive again in 2019. And we spent the last 3 years now really fundraising. We put together a new corporation, a new board of directors, very reputable, credible people in our community. And we have really rolled our sleeves up as volunteers and tried to bring this to fruition. So the good news is we have raised $7.55 million on our way to the goal of $10 million. So we're $2.45 million short. We're doing everything humanly possible to raise that last piece by March 1st. That's the goal. And so anybody listening, we have naming rights opportunities available. We're selling stadium naming rights. So if a company wants to put their name on the overall project, or if they want to put it just on the field, they can do it, and we could finish the fundraising. And I have to tell you, this is going to be just a magnificent project, open for our community. It'll be the home of Carver High School for football, soccer, other sports, but it's available to every public school in New Orleans. And we, as you know, we basically have two places right now to play, football. I mean, we either play at Gormley or Pan American. Great facilities, but in many cases overused. This would give us a third really top-notch first-class facility for our youth to be able to use.
Now, Arnie, this is a facility that is more of an all-purpose facility, right? You're going to have track and field. They're all, you'll have lights, so again, you'll be able to play at night. Kind of take us through again what it will look like when completed.
Sure. Well, one of the things we want to do, we have a great architect, Mark Ripple from Eskew Dumas, who's been working pro bono now for literally a decade on this project. So we have a basic idea of what it might entail. But once we raise the money, we're going to start a series of community meetings and talk about design in more specifics. We want to make sure the community gets what they want within the budget that we're going to have.
Sure.
Right now, the plan is for a 5,000 seat facility that would involve, as you say, multi-purpose, certainly football, soccer will be able to play there. We'll be building a 10-lane track, so the track and field will be part of it. It will be certainly lit up. It should be used year-round, almost every day. And we're doing a few wrinkles, too. One of the things I'd like to do, I saw this at Neville High School up in Monroe, is they built kind of an indoor meeting room area under the grandstands, so that nonprofit groups, community groups, aside from sports, can use it year-round, from morning to night. So that's part of it. I would like to look at a potential Hall of Fame. Eventually part of the facility to honor.
For Carver or for high schools?
For high schools, for New Orleans public schools. I'm told that we really don't have that here. And of course, as you know, I mean, we have hundreds of phenomenal athletes that have come out of not just the Ninth Ward, but the city of New Orleans. So that could be a really nice aspect of it. So look, once we get the funding, we have a great partnership with the New Orleans School Board. The way this project will work work is that they own the land.
Right.
So they will hire a third-party operator that has expertise in sports. We want to make sure this thing is run well. As you know, that's a problem in New Orleans sometimes. We build it and it falls into disrepair. We're not going to let that happen.
Right.
But we'll have a third-party operator. They will run it. They'll sell revenue. They'll get the fees and all of that. They'll maintain it and take care of it. And hopefully this can be a source of pride, for the 9th Ward and for the entire city.
Yeah. Locker rooms also going to be part of this as well, or
no, I don't think locker rooms.
Okay.
But we just
concession stands.
Yeah, definitely concession stands. There'll be obviously press boxes, maybe a big suite involved with it. But it'll be I think if you look at Pan American, that's kind of the size that we're looking at.
Okay.
I will say this: I think Pan American's great aesthetically on the exterior. I think it leaves a little bit to be desired. What I would like to do is drape the stadium with like great players, that came from the neighborhood.
Right.
And then maybe every few years you change that draping. I think that would be really special if we could do it.
Arnie, when you look at the people who have stepped up to be able to get involved in this project, it's a cross-section of again, companies and people in this city who, again, want to see this project come to fruition.
It has. Candidly, though, it's largely been public money so far. Big kudos to Troy Carter.
Right.
He was able to help us get a $3 million federal earmark last year when the earmark program came back in Congress.
Yes.
Big kudos to, I don't want to leave anybody out, but Senator Joe Bowie, Representative Candace Newell.
Right.
I will say former Senator Karen Carter Peterson played a big role. They were able to get us state capital outlay dollars.
Okay.
That really helped. We got $3.5 million a year ago. And then the New Orleans City Council, President J.P. Morrell and Helene Moreno came to a press conference about 6 months ago and said, you know what, we want to be part of this at the city level.
Okay.
And they donated $1 million. So that gets us to 755.
Right.
We really need the private sector to step up right now.
Okay.
I will tell you, we're in discussions with a lot of corporations here.
Okay.
This is not that much money, and it could be paid over a course of 2 to 3 years.
All right.
And you'll be able to put your name on a project that is so feel good and so helpful to our youth. I just can't imagine a better project for a company to be involved in. So I'm calling out to all of our local state companies, please, take a look at this project, get a hold of me. We could put my contact information up, and I promise you're going to be part of a really first-class beneficial project for the community.
Deuce McAllister still involved with this?
Yeah, Deuce is one of our board members, just great guy, been helpful, opened some doors for us, a big cheerleader for this project, and others too, by the way. I mean, DeMario Davis, who is a phenomenal human being, as well as a football player. Right. He has this dream of education in the 9th Ward, so he's working with Delgado College there, which is down the street, has talked to us about maybe a practice field being built with the stadium.
Okay.
So we hope that can materialize. Other community leaders, Troy Duhan, who does a lot in that area, has been very helpful, very supportive. So, at this point, we're going to make this project happen.
Right.
We're close enough that we're not going to let this fail, but we do need some help. And this is the holiday season, and for any corporations, any CEOs watching, there is no better project in New Orleans to put your name on than this.
Right, a tax write-off before the end of the year as well, right?
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
Right. Anything that can be utilized or still available from the previous build that was supposed to be there? Lights, turf, anything like that? Yeah,
that's a really good question. We are in touch with the former group. There was some angst, but we have tried to keep it positive. I mean, look, this is for the kids, okay?
Right. Sure.
We're told that there may be the possibility of lights available that are in a warehouse, so that could save us some money.
Some money, right?
We've had some very early discussions with the Superdome, because the turf each year is donated.
That's right.
When we're ready to actually do that, maybe this is a time where turf could be donated. That would save us some money. So, yeah, we're looking at economies of scale and savings of cost here that could bring the $10 million. We started, I have to tell you, when you and I talked in 2019, this was a $5 million project.
Yeah.
with construction cost, today, this is now a $10 million project, and we hope it's kind of leveled off now,
Sure.
that's the number, but it's been amazing to see how fast the cost of building this has risen.
Well, of course, through your contacts and others, you've gotten a lot of stuff pro bono as well, right? Or the architect.
Yeah, again, the architect, Mark Ripple, has done a phenomenal job. We've had CPA services donated. We have a gentleman in Baton Rouge who's helped us with the capital outlay process. Dottie Belletto, who runs NOCCI, has been our lead marketing person, doing a phenomenal job. So, yeah, we've had a lot of support on this, and, we're going to need that as we go into the future.
Look, it's always the first question when somebody starts asking about donations of money. Have the Saints got involved?
Well, we've talked to the Saints. And we've had very good discussions with the Saints, with Dennis Lauscha, the president, and Stephen Pate, and I know Mrs. Benson is aware of this. We've encouraged them to get involved with this. We're hoping that after the first of the year that we would get a good answer, because look, this is the Saints have invested in this part of the city, and this would be a wonderful donation for them to be involved in, and we would be very honored to have the Saints part of this project.
And of course, look, with Mrs. Benson given the fortune, when she passes to the city of New Orleans, etc. This is obviously a worthwhile project, and something they could bridge that to $2.5 million that you guys are looking for. They could bridge that pretty easily for you.
They certainly could. And
no doubt about it.
We're hopeful that they will.
Someone wants to get involved that's watching today, how can they do it?
Yeah, email me. My email is afielkow, AFIELKOW, @bellsouth.net, or call me. My phone is 504-905-9025. We have a great presentation, a PowerPoint that we can sit with you and show you all of the details. And again, this is time now that we need New Orleans companies to step up. We've done what we can do in the public realm. Now we just need to close that gap and get to the finish line with the private sector.
And hopefully, again, people will get involved in this going forward. It's a worthwhile project and something that, again, that can last for generations, and much needed, obviously, in the Ninth Ward as well.
Yes.
No doubt about it. On the flip side, in Metairie, a lot of talk about, again, making Zephyr Field an all-purpose stadium now. Again, we know, again, the rugby team is there playing, but again, the Jefferson Parish leaders would like to be able to see that turn into a place where high school sports can happen, but also in conjunction with the professional rugby team. What have you heard?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. It's been a little bit out of the news the last few months. I think they're trying to assess what would be best usage. But, look, the facility in Airline Drive is an important facility for our community. It's been there a number of years now. The Saints and the Pelicans have their practice facilities, their training camp right across the street. So it's an anchor area, for economic development, and I certainly hope that whatever the decision is, that it's something that benefits the community. As you know, I have a baseball background. I started my career in baseball with actually the team that used to be in New Orleans. It used to be called the Pelicans, and part of the old Southern League. I was the president of the league, and baseball has changed so much in the last 2 years, and it's a shame how it's changed, because the minor league system has somewhat been eliminated the way we knew it. These leagues that existed before, the Southern League, the American Association, they don't exist anymore. All of that is owned and controlled by Major League Baseball now. So the decisions are being made not at the league level anymore. They're being made, by MLB in New York. And we lost our minor league baseball team, unfortunately. And I know, some really good people on our community, Walt Leger and Kenny Trahan and others have worked very hard to try to maybe get baseball back here, but I don't think it's there right now. I think it's going to take a few years. So how that fits into the Metairie facility, is something that's got to be factored, I think.
That's interesting. Again, I know there's some money from the American Rescue Plan that I think Jefferson Parish has. They may be putting into the stadium. Capital outlay from Baton Rouge as well to be able to upgrade the stadium as well. And of course, we'll see how that played out. Let's go into minor league baseball. We'll get into soccer in a moment because, again, a lot of folks that think that minor league baseball, the future, if New Orleans is to come back and be part of a Southern League, right, that first of all be very difficult because a lot of those cities don't want to let go of their teams. That kind of is the team for their city. But also, again, possibly putting a stadium out on the riverfront. You've talked to, again, people about possibly bringing minor league baseball. Facilities have got to be, again, one of the sticking points in terms of, again, coming back to the city. Am I right?
Yeah, I think venue is maybe the most important issue. I don't think there's any doubt that Major League Baseball would love to have New Orleans back in the fold as a member of the system, just because of its size. And when you look at the old Southern League, I mean, they've gone to smaller communities.
Yes.
They go to Biloxi, they're in Huntsville, they're in Pensacola. So to have a larger city like New Orleans is a feather in the cap from a business standpoint.
Right.
The issue is facility. I mean, the Shrine and Airline became antiquated.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't up to standards of what the old AAA standards of baseball were.
Right.
So you have to do something there. Now, whether or not the state and Jefferson Parish wants to convert that to baseball, I think that's probably an open question, and they may be moving away from that idea. Right. So if that's the case, if we really are serious down the road about bringing minor league baseball back, we're going to have to look at probably a new facility somewhere.
Right.
And
landlocked.
Well, we are landlocked. The riverfront has literally been talked about for stadiums,
Right.
Eric. I'm going back 20 years now when you and I were talking stadiums and for the Saints. The Saints had their druthers, a stadium on the riverfront near that Market Power area.
Yes.
That was going to be a grandiose place. Now, how you get people in and out of that is that's an issue. But if that's NFL stadiums were being built in Pittsburgh on the river and beautiful places like that. So we've talked about that for a long time, and I do think that riverfront site, while it may not be appropriate for an NFL type of 60,000, 70,000 teams, it might be very good for a much smaller venue for minor league sports.
Right.
And obviously, the convention center, from everything I'm reading, has looked at that for soccer. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
And maybe there is an opportunity for baseball at some point there or somewhere else.
Right. Rich history of baseball here in the city.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, again, with a lot of things, as things move forward, the ability to see more sports on television, etc. I don't know if it works now, but there are some that believe that young professionals that live downtown would go to minor league baseball if there was a venue in downtown New Orleans.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think people are continuing to move to urban areas.
Right.
We certainly have built a lot of condos and beautiful places in the Warehouse District and elsewhere. So that's possible. Yeah, again, I think, though, leadership has to emerge that wants baseball. It has been pretty dormant for the last year and a half, 2 years since we lost the team. I think that there is an opportunity. I really do believe that New York would like New Orleans to have baseball again.
Right.
But I think it's going to take some creativity and some dollars and some political support in Baton Rouge and in our city, to make it happen. But, we'll talk about this, but I have to tell you, the landscape in New Orleans is changing in a very positive direction. Right. Between what could happen with USL soccer, maybe baseball down the road. I know we'll maybe talk briefly about UNO, the Ninth Ward Stadium. We really could look back 5 years from now and say, you know what, we started to really work on venues here in New Orleans and make us the type of city we want to be.
Right. One more point on minor league baseball. because Major League Baseball has taken it over, again, divested themselves of a lot of cities and a lot of franchises. And of course, the Southern League, as you mentioned, being a lot of smaller towns and cities, that in a lot of cases, that's their professional team. How difficult would it be to wrestle one of those teams away to move to New Orleans, even if the venue is built?
Yeah, it's under the old rules. It's a challenge because there's a limited number of minor league teams because the way the system is right now. Every major league team has about 5 teams in the farm system, so you can't just create a team. Right. But I think there are communities, without naming them. I had been told that there was one in the old Southern League that, potentially was available in the right situation. Okay. But again, no owner and no commissioner of MLB is going to look at New Orleans until they know, first of all, that there's a venue that the team. Because I will tell you, back in the day, the venues were of particular interest to ownership. What kind of revenue they were driven. Sure. Today, the issue for major league teams is a little less about the revenue and more about quality facilities to get their players trained. Okay. I mean, it's really player development. Okay. They want to make sure that those players, from the moment they're drafted, come into a system at low A, double A, triple A, where they're elevating up. They have beautiful facilities, locker rooms. Nice places to stay. I mean, they're really trying to treat these players, in a much better way than maybe it was 25 years ago.
How big is local ownership when it comes to minor league sports?
I think it's really important. In New Orleans, for sure, it's important. I mean, we've seen the successes where you've had great local ownership.
Absolutely.
And then you've seen the failures where out-of-towners have come in, they think they know the city. Sometimes they name a name of a team that isn't really what the city wants. And we know that one. So, no, I think even if you don't have local ownership as the majority owner, you need to have them in the minority ownership so that they're out in the community, they're selling, and they're being seen.
Are you, Kenny, Walt Leger Sr., or was it Junior? Walt Leger Jr.? Yeah, because the other was the third. Yeah. Are you guys still working toward this, or is this something that's on the back burner?
I have to admit, I think it's been on the back burner for the last year. I've been so focused on the Ninth Ward Stadium. But it's still out there. I know. Look, Kenny and Walt and I are unified in our philosophy that we think baseball should come back here at some point. And by the way, we have a phenomenal baseball facility that nobody knows about. It's the old Wesley Barrows.
That's right.
It's now the Major League Baseball Youth Academy. We are the only city in America that doesn't have an MLB team that has this academy. And we are, they're training boys and girls on the game of baseball and softball. And off the field, it's amazing to watch because they're teaching these kids all of the skills of sports, broadcasting, sports law, wonderful things. And it's kind of a hidden gem. I'm proud of it because when I was on the city council, this was maybe my #1 project. And I love going to Gentilly. It's right next to the golf course. And seeing it because what they're doing is phenomenal. Eddie Davis and his team run a first-class operation over there.
A lot of people don't know about it, but that is one of the feathers in Arnie's cap from when he was on the city council. A guy that, again, really took a real interest in Nord and, of course, was able to land the baseball academy out at Wesley Barrow. All right. I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I want to talk a little bit about soccer, minor league soccer. Again, with the World Cup finishing, again, people are ravenous for soccer. And New Orleans is, again, with the changing population base, could be a future spot for minor league soccer. We'll do that next. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Arnie Fielkow is our guest. We'll be right back after hearing from our underwriters. Stay tuned.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Experiencing rough weather with a bad roof can be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be.
Suburban roofing, because when it comes to roofing, there is a difference.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Arnie Fielkow is our guest. We're talking about, again, sports in New Orleans, future venues in New Orleans. And, of course, again, before we get out, we'll let you know once again about the Ninth Ward Stadium, how you can donate to get that project completed. All right. Minor league professional soccer. I got to admit, I was a little bit taken back, especially, again, with minor league baseball moving on. But I've said this for years on the radio show, even before I got back into the media, because I grew up at a time where soccer maybe was just really kind of starting. My high school, De La Salle, were again perennial. They were champions. They were very good at soccer when I was there. So you had a few guys that played soccer that I knew. We didn't really play soccer. We played basketball, baseball, football. But when my children were growing up, they played soccer. You know, a lot of parents didn't want their kids playing football, so they put them in soccer. Girls and boys played together in soccer as well. So I saw it then, and I said to myself, this is the next sport within the next 20 to 25 years. And of course now, you know, my son is 32, so we've seen this evolution in the United States, where again, becoming part of the world game. There is a group that is looking at New Orleans and possibly bringing minor league professional soccer here. You've been in contact with them. Talk a bit about the group, talk about the league, and what we could possibly expect if they expand to New Orleans.
Sure. Well, first of all, I've been told that you had the sharpest elbows at De La Salle in the basketball court. Nobody wanted to be under the boards with you, but
I did have some sharp elbows.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I grew up in an era where there really wasn't soccer. I mean, I played basketball, played football, you know, those the traditional sports. But you're right. Our kids have now grown up. This is a top-notch sport. I'm very proud. My daughter was a top goalkeeper in the state, and it was fun. I have to tell you, soccer is a really wonderful, fun sport. And anybody that watched a week and a half ago the final game of the World Cup.
Right.
That may have been the greatest sporting event I've ever seen. I'm talking football, Super Bowls, everything. To be able to watch that level of soccer was incredible, and I think, is bringing another generation of fans to the table. USL soccer, which is what you're talking about, which is the highest level of soccer under Major League Soccer in the United States, has identified New Orleans as a potential home. They would like to start in 2025, 1 year before the World Cup comes to North America.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about it. I think with the demographics of our community, we have a large Hispanic population here, and just parents and grandparents
and
that have seen
young
their
professionals that are living downtown. Or just children, folks your children's age, my children's age, that again came up playing soccer and love soccer.
Yes, and and they've watched their kids, their grandkids now.
Right.
Soccer has matured a lot since we had the World Cup 20 years ago. So I'm very encouraged that this could be highly successful. I had the opportunity to speak with the two representatives of USL, Warren Smith and Jamie Ginn, great guys, and they are, they're all over the city. They're doing meetings to try to find out what does New Orleans want, which, by the way, you talk about local ownership, this is a really wise way to go about business in New Orleans. I mean, rather than, export, what other cities are doing, come right to the New Orleanians and ask them what would they like, what would the name be like, the venue, how would you like us to market? So they're doing all the right things. My understanding is the next step right now is that they're trying to finalize ownership. Okay. They're not the owners. I mean, they're the representatives of the league to bring us ownership that would own the team. And then once you've got ownership cemented, then there will be a serious discussion on venue. Where do you play? Where would you want to put a stadium?
Right.
And that's really, I'm told, the next 60 days or so in the new year, those are the two steps that are going to materialize.
Right. Now we have the Jesters now who play at Pan American, but this is a step up. Am I right?
Yeah, this is a big step up. I mean, this is, for anybody that knows MLS soccer, which is the top level in America, this is right under them. I mean, this would be, I don't know if this is the equivalent, it might be the AAA baseball to Major League Baseball, but very high level, very skilled players, and and I think we would be very excited to have that level of competition. If you look at the other cities in the USL top league, and we would be in the top league, I mean, they're all major cities across America that don't have MLS teams. So we're certainly, in that right size as a demographic of a community.
Is it a separate entity than MLS, or is that a feeder system to MLS, much like we see with minor league baseball?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer.
Okay.
I believe it's independent of MLS. I'm sure that they have partnerships and relationships.
Right.
But I think it's a standalone, entity with a lot of the players, I'm guessing, that do elevate up, to the top level, to MLS, or elevate up to soccer around the world, in the club system that we see in Europe and elsewhere.
Let's look, you've dealt with this as, again, Vice President of the New Orleans Saints. The sports dollar and how that will be split up in the city. We have a Major League Rugby team that plays in Jefferson Parish. We have a minor league soccer team that plays at Pan American. If you do the step up and you go with, again, the USL League and maybe a minor league baseball team as well, along with, again, the rugby team, and then professional sports with the Pelicans and the Saints, how do those franchises survive in this city?
Sure. Well, it's a crowded landscape. I mean, no doubt about it. Just to have two major league teams in a city of our size, that's a feather in the cap to our community to have that. But I believe that, and I think the Zephyrs historically showed it, that if you put a good product, an entertaining product on the field and in the stands, part of, teams, minor league teams in sports, it's about the playing field, but it's also about the fun of bringing a family there that's affordable, being able to come on a nice evening and have, a few hot dogs and some beers and all of that. All of that goes into the aura of success of a team. I don't have any doubt that if USL finalizes here, and I think they will, by the way, I think that they can find the financial and the economical aspects to be successful. I think people are going to love coming to whatever facility they select. Prices are not, NFL and NBA prices. It's still affordable, and I think it'll be fun. And then, as you say, all of those people that have now grown up a little bit on soccer and seen their kids or played themselves, they're going to want to come out and watch this. So I think it's very exciting.
Is it one or the other? Will it be minor league baseball or minor league soccer? Can they coexist? And then when you talk about venue, again, possibly building a new venue, with again, us being landlocked and a lot of people looking at that venue on the riverfront as a possible expansion, can they coexist, or will it be one or the other, in your opinion?
Well, I would love to believe that they could both exist. I think soccer is a little bit ahead of baseball right now. I mean, I think they have the group, they're working on it, so I think they're a few years ahead. But look, as a city of New Orleans, I'm a big believer that sports teams are a big part of the growth and economic success of a city. Studies have shown that. So if we could somehow get along with the Saints and the Pels, if we could get, top level soccer, and if we could eventually get baseball back here at some level, I just think, there's similar audiences, but in many cases they're different audiences.
And different seasons as well.
And different seasons as well. So look, let's hope we can get to that point. It's going to take some real leadership. I think the gubernatorial race is very important.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we have a governor that believes in New Orleans and believes in sports as an anchor catalyst. I know GNO Inc. and groups like that do. So hopefully we can align all of the stars here, and we can have great soccer in a few years, and eventually minor league baseball.
Well, how could you not believe in what professional sports and sports in general has done as an economic driver for New Orleans? Just look over your shoulder at that building behind you, and it tells you everything you need to know about, again, what the economic driver and what money that not only puts in the coffers of New Orleans, but in the state coffers as well in terms of taxes when we have these major events. And of course, having, again, for a city our size, 2 professional teams.
It's phenomenal. And look, you and I are of the age yet. I remember the discussion before the Pels. I remember the discussion about, well, there's no way the NBA could succeed in a size community when we have the Saints here. Well, you only need to go to a Pels game right now. You know, I saw the game on Monday, you know, when the Bucks were in town a week ago, and, you know, sold out, people excited.
Absolutely.
I mean, you put a good product on the court and on the field, New Orleanians will support those teams.
We won't tell anybody who you were pulling for that night, though.
Well, you know, I'm a former Badger, so
that was only his team growing up, the Bucks. Yeah, there you go. The Pelicans are a little bit of a wild card here as well. A lot of talk that, again, they would like to upgrade their arena. I would be very, very sad if ultimately they went away from the John McKithen Sports Complex, because that is a perfect complex there. I would like to see the Pelicans play a couple years in the Dome, as the Jazz did, renovate again, or retrofit that new arena, even if they had to implode it and start all over, then to maybe again move out to the riverfront, which would again kind of prohibit a possibility of, again, some of these minor league stadiums you've been talking about.
Yeah, I don't have any inside knowledge on this.
Understood.
The beauty of the Superdome and Smoothie King is their location. I mean, what brings Super Bowls here and Sugar Bowls and other people love to be congregated in downtown. It's very easy, relatively easy in and out access compared to other stadiums around the country. The problem is you put a big stadium on a riverfront, how do you get ingress and egress, in our community? And so I'm all in favor. I hope that Mrs. Benson and the Pelicans, can enhance that facility, continue to keep it modern and competitive. And if it is new, I mean, certainly I would be supportive of it. But I would hope they would also look at the current location and see what they could do there, before they start building. I'm sounding like Dave Dixon now, because these are the discussions we had with the Saints.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Arnie Fielkow was wrong 20 years ago, and Dave Dixon was right. Is that there's nothing like the Superdome, and what they've done over the years to keep it fresh and modern is really a beautiful thing.
Which was, again, the vision for that building, that it would continue to be able to, again, be modernized and kind of where we've seen other dome stadiums of the same era gone. That one continues to be able to live on.
Yes.
Was a little bit of a blow when you want to talk about high school sports, though, in a venue with UNO and the students turning down the possibility of bringing in college football for University of New Orleans. There's a plot of land on the lakefront that was set up. I saw the renderings of the stadium. It would have been a great opportunity to have a second big-time stadium in the city, and also that could be utilized by high school. That is a potential loss there. Hopefully down the line that will be revisited. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say President Nick Lowe at UNO and Athletic Director Tim Duncan are tremendous leaders in our community. I mean, really creative, visionary people. I thought the vote was going to pass this time. 6-7 years ago when it first came up, I didn't think they were ready for it. I think Tim and his team did a really good job laying the foundation for the vote. It didn't happen. I mean, UNO students are largely transitory. I mean, they don't live on campus. It's it's different than LSU or Tulane, and they made the decision financially as students that they didn't want it. I don't think that precludes the possibility of UNO coming back to the table, either to do a stadium privately themselves and to fund the football program, or maybe to go back to a vote at somewhere down the road. they're the only, as I understand it, the only Division I school in the state that doesn't have football.
Yes.
So I think football in New Orleans at that level would be successful. I think it would be exciting for UNO. It would enhance people enrolling in the school. Right. A lot of positives. So I'm hoping that they won't give up on it. I've talked to Tim a couple times, and I know they were depressed a little bit that they didn't get the vote, but he's such a good leader that I think he will come back and find another way. And let's hope maybe that we could have that football stadium on the lakefront. That would be pretty special. Yeah,
it would be. Youth sports, again, traveling teams, etc., so big now in this country. You had a vision when you were on the council to bring again the Disney Wide World of Sports to New Orleans out of the old Six Flags site, which again is still in flux. Talk a bit about your vision there, and also again if there's a possibility that maybe that could be revisited down the line.
Yeah, well, we got beat out by Nickelodeon.
Right.
Mayor Nagin at the time, if you remember.
It was kind of a Nickelodeon type mayor, wasn't he?
Well, we won't go there. You know what? That vision is going to happen. You probably are aware of this, but Troy Henry has been given the opportunity to create a project at the Six Flags site and in New Orleans East. Part of that development and vision is to build youth sporting opportunities, fields. Park, right? Yeah, fields, a water park, be able to bring tournaments. Very similar to the idea that I had. Right. And I met with Troy a few weeks ago. They're trying to finalize the deal with the city of New Orleans, and it's been held up a little bit, but I think it's going to happen, and that's very exciting. They have the land over there, that Six Flags site. The people in New Orleans East desperately want development out there, and for myself as a parent and others watching your show, I mean, we travel for soccer right now. We travel, we used to travel every weekend to Baton Rouge or Lafayette to these mega soccer complexes. Back in my son's days, we did baseball, and we'd go over. People all over the South and all over the country would love to come to tournaments in New Orleans and spend a long weekend here, see their kids play, enjoy everything about the city of New Orleans. I mean, it's a home run.
And logistically, that parcel of land works with the interstate access, etc. Hotels will grow from that. I mean, the vision that you had back then was a great vision for that particular plot of land because, again, of the outgrowth that would come from building a project like that.
Yes, I mean, we were looking at an entity, a partnership called Major League Dreams, I think it was called, and it was a company that built replica baseball stadiums like Wrigley and Fenway, and it was a really cool concept. And they were all over, and they were looking at New Orleans. But the same idea exists today of building, these mega complexes with soccer fields, baseball fields, and bringing out-of-towners to come to our community, and then during the week available for locals. So I'm a big cheerleader of Troy. I think he's a visionary leader. I think he's going to make this project happen, and we'll look back in a few years and say we really advanced New Orleans East in that part of the city.
If it happens, that would be a coup for New Orleans East.
It would.
It would be a stepping stone for that entire area, and honestly, the economic impact of something like that for the city, which again brings me to my next question about what sports means to our economy. And look, we kind of touched on it a little bit with, again, the Superdome and what that brings, but again, professional sports with the Saints and Pelicans here, the games that they play, the taxes that are collected from the athletes that play here, professional athletes, not just those that are domiciled here, but those that come in and play for games now, because we tax those guys as well. And then, of course, having Tulane now and growing their product, which I hope they continue. We talked about a little bit about UNO, the Saints and Pelicans, what they're doing, and then of course the bowl games, which again are a big part of what we're doing. The New Orleans Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. Well, just from a philanthropic standpoint, what they do again year round in terms of again giving back to our community. Sports is big business here in New Orleans.
It's really big business. I mean, it's when people look at cities, people look at relocating companies and stuff. One of the first things they look look at is the presence of sports teams, professional sports, amateur sports, and for a city of our size, we really are blessed. I mean, to have a plethora of really good assets there, and they, as you say, they bring not only is it entertainment and fun for our citizenry, but they bring in a lot of dollars here.
Right.
To be able to have in a couple days the Sugar Bowl, we already have thousands of Kansas State fans coming into town, Alabama fans. We have the Super Bowl coming back here in a few years. I mean, just major events, and then you put them together with some of these grassroots events that the Sports Foundation brings to the table.
Absolutely.
Tournaments that a lot of people don't even know about, but they'll see them at the Illyrio Center, or they'll see them at the Pontchartrain Center. Fencing tournaments and things like that. All of which adds to the economy. So you put that all into a big gumbo, and it's good stuff for New Orleans and the state of Louisiana.
It's funny, I remember when the Sports Foundation was being formed and all the talk about, again, how they were going to move this city forward in terms of, again, continuing to bring Super Bowls here, trying to bring a professional basketball team back to New Orleans. And again, you think about it and you look back and now you look forward to what has happened, how that's transpired. How could we have lived without the New Orleans Sports Foundation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they do incredible job, and leaders. One of our board members on the Ninth Ward Stadium is Bill Hines, and I remember this goes back 20 years now. I remember Bill going out and doing meetings saying, we could bring NBA basketball to New Orleans. Well, that dream became reality.
Yes, it did.
And now look at the Pell's success on the court, their success off the court. It's just a major benefit to our city.
Well, and that's the private sector driving, again, the sports here in New Orleans. And, again, for years we had the possibility to get the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was convoluted within politics and ended up not happening for a lot of reasons. And then, of course, the second time around with the relocation of the Hornets, that was driven by again, the private sector. The public sector got involved, obviously, but the private sector were the drivers there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill Hines leading the way.
Yeah, there were a lot of really great leaders. Bill was one of them. Jay Cicero from the foundation has been in that office for a long time and does a great job of bringing events here. So, look, New Orleans is blessed to have all of these teams and sports in general, and it just makes it fun to live in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does.
No doubt. Talking about the bowl games, the New Orleans Bowl obviously has been a staple now for a while here in this city, or maybe overshadowed a little bit by its big brother, again, the Sugar Bowl, which is always, again, part of the mix of the national championship, one of the most prestigious bowls out there. Now with the advent, again, the playoff system coming in, are you concerned that the bowl games, now, look, there are a lot of bowl games there. When we were kids, we watched those bowl games. It's hard to keep up with all the bowl games that are out there right now. But there's something to be said for those bowl games. For the athletes having the opportunity to be able to be in a bowl game at the end of their season, wine and dine, going in maybe to a place or a city they've never been before, and then of course the economic impact of those bowl games on the city that again hosts those particular bowls. It's big business we talked about, and I would hate to see again the New Orleans Bowl go away, or again the Sugar Bowl be diluted by what we're seeing now with again the expansion of the playoff system. Don't get me wrong, I love the playoff system, but I think it needs to be done in conjunction with the bowl games.
I think so too. There is definitely a place for even the lower level bowl games. I just got back from Phoenix and saw my Wisconsin Badgers. Not a good season, but you know what? To be rewarded with bowl game and have thousands of fans out there, fun as could be.
Yes.
Okay, I think the system's got to change though. As the playoff system. It becomes 12. You got to figure out a way to involve the bowls into that playoff venue system, and then the lower bowls. They got to kind of figure out what is the marketing. I will tell you, the bad thing about the bowls is what's happening with NIL, what's happening with the
transfer portal.
The transfer portal. Right. I mean, it's just changed. It used to be
kids are sitting out. We're going to
exactly, and that's sad because for all of if I was I guess a good college football player and I was in my senior year, I'd want to go out with my alma mater winning its bowl game. It just doesn't seem to be important anymore, and that is a shame because you're finding some of these teams in these bowls they're not what they were during the regular season anymore.
somehow the NCAA has got to get a handle on NIL and transfer portal. Again, it's kind of open-ended right now. It's kind of the wild, wild west. They've tried to do certain things to be able to try to rein it in a bit. There has to be a better system.
There's got to be, even in NIL. I mean, when you look at schools like Tulane or, I went to Northwestern, schools like that have a difficult time competing with the state school, for those marketing deals. That shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't lose out on recruiting because you can't pay a quarterback. I mean, that wasn't the idea of amateur sports. So all of that has got to be looked at. It's got to be reformed. The transfer portal is really a disaster right now. And, to have all these players every year move from school to school to school, I just don't think that's good for college sports.
The only good thing that has transpired within the last year is, again, not allowing, consecutive moves without having to set out a year. So your first move is, again, you get a pass. You can go wherever you want to go. If you transfer a second time, you got to sit out a year, like the old rules. They got to do something to be able to stop, again, all this movement. But at the same time, others will say kids deserve the opportunity to have to pay for their name, image, and likeness, which I agree. And kids should have the opportunity. If a coach can move on, a kid should be able to move on as well. But there's something to be said about, again, the allegiance to that particular school, sticking it out, and if you do have an opportunity to move on, sitting that 1 year and then going on and playing. We'll see how that kind of plays out. Before we wrap up, I want to just your thoughts on the state of both professional and collegiate sports in New Orleans.
Well, I think it's a positive, obviously. This has been a really interesting season. Obviously, the Saints season hasn't gone the way everybody wanted. Let's hope there's still hope for this year. There might be. The Pels look like one of the strongest teams in all of the NBA, and I think people got excited about the Pels earlier in the fall than they have in the past. So I'm looking forward to, the first few months of 23 because I think they have a chance to win the West. Tulane, what a season. I mean, really, what an amazing season. And I think everybody's looking forward to the Cotton Bowl in a few days. And, and LSU surprised everybody. After they lost to Florida State in the opener, I think people were a little bit down. And what a tremendous season. And they also, are going to be playing after New Year's. So
Loyola, Delgado, I mean,
Loyola won a national championship.
Suno, I mean, again, we can talk about Xavier. I agree with you. I think it's strong. I think we're in a really strong place right now when it comes to getting both collegiate and professional sports. Although I would like to see more people attending the college games. It's something that's been lost. When I was growing up, the Chamber of Horrors was packed. Tulane was packed. Again, Dale Brown brought his Tigers down here, and it was constantly packed for basketball, baseball, football. We don't see that as much as we used to now.
Well, we're in basketball season. For anybody that hasn't gone, go take a night and go over to Xavier's gym or Dillard's gym.
Or UNO.
Or Tulane.
Right.
I mean, these are small, compact arenas. So much fun on it, and really good quality basketball. And you'd be surprised how much fun you will have by going to one of those, smaller facilities in New Orleans.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%.
And if you want to go to Ben Franklin High School and see real basketball in the city of New Orleans.
Of course, that's the alma mater of his children as well. Arnie, thanks so much for being with us. Certainly appreciate everything you've done for our city. Again, you had an opportunity to leave and went with the NBA Retired Players Association, but you and Sue, the draw to come back to New Orleans was strong, and of course, you're retiring now from, again, the Jewish Federation. I'm not sure what's going to be happening with the rest of your life, but I do know one thing. You'll be here in New Orleans, being a New Orleanian, and giving back to our city, and we appreciate everything you've done for us, again, since, again, you landed on this spot here in the Deep South.
Well, Eric, thank you. We love living in New Orleans. It's the greatest city. I promise we're not leaving. This is home now forever, and we'll see what rest in store for me for 2023. There's probably another challenge there, and so we'll see about that. But I wish you and your audience a really happy, healthy, and sweet New Year, and let's all look forward to a really great 2023.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for being part of our community as well.
Thank you.
Arnie Fielkow, again, with us, and big again, someone is giving back to our community since the day he moved here, again, as Vice President of the New Orleans Saints. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, so many ways to catch our program now. There's a QR code that is on your screen that will take you to my website, also the WLAE-TV YouTube page. Of course, you can listen. Watch the program on my website, ericasher.com. Also, again, so many ways to be able to catch our program with the rebroadcast. They're up on the screen for you now. Set your DVR. That way you'll never miss the program each and every week. Catch me on the radio, 106.1 FM. That's weekdays 4 to 6. You can also listen on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn Radio app, ericasher.com. And as always, we appreciate you guys watching the television program and listening to the radio show as well. I want to thank our underwriters who make this show possible. The underwriters, again, that support our program year-round. They're the reason why this program is on the air. Please support each and every one of them. We thank them as well. We thank the WLAE production staff for their great job throughout the year as well. Of course, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Logan Graffia, Alex Chacon, and the best director in the business, William Hill. Happy New Year's, New Orleans. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. For Arnie, Fielkow, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks for watching.